Hi everybody, welcome to the AVEX Podcast. I've got with me today Charlie and Sam from WFG Group. Welcome.
Thank you.
Just tell us a bit about yourselves and what you do within the group.
Shall I kick this off?
How do you kick off?
So Charlie Peacock, I'm Sales Director at Modus, which is part of the WFG Group. For those who don't know, WFG is our holding company. Beneath that we have Modus being the main entity, and I suppose the original name that was in the market going back some 30 years ago. More recently, we've added a few new entities underneath the banner. So we have two, which is our smaller work / day two, as it says in the name. And they do projects up to circa £1 million. And then after that, it goes into a typical Modus D&B style opportunity. Separate to that part of the group, we've got we've got Platform, which is our furniture division. It's like a subsidiary again, which services all group functions. It's a successful part of the team, and it forms part of any design and build opportunity. And then we've got Ambit, which is our main construction. I suppose cut and carve, refit, more traditional procurement side of the business. So again, another large entity within the group. And then the baby of the company, because it's been the newest startup, is MITRE, which Sam works with.
So Sam, tell us a bit about yourself.
Sam Turley, Managing Director of MITRE. MITRE has been basically on board in the last 9 months to create a marketing design agency division within the WFG Group. Our kind of main focus is through new technologies, kind of influencing marketing and design in both the fit out world, but also in the traditional design and graphic design world as well. So we're very new. We've grown from 4 to 17 people in 9 months. So we've had a really quick adoption rate. It's been very exciting, but we're kind of finding our feet in the industry. I mean, we don't even have a fully fledged website yet, so it's very early days, but learning a lot from the WFG group as to how fit out and office all comes together. So it's been an exciting first part.
And the most important aspect, from your perspective, technology.
Right, 100%.
Forefront of technology.
Forefront of technology, which is brilliant. I think I can't get my head around 4 to 17 people in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
So
good.
I mean, this is sort of off script, but how have you coped? Have you just had to be ad hoc, be agile?
Incredibly agile. I mean, my background is design and marketing agency based, so they flex quite quickly. So you have, you grow with the client growth ultimately as well. So you can go from 5 to 15 on one project basis. For us, we've run 6 or 7 projects with quite large developers, so it's happened incredibly quickly. All thanks probably to WFG and being connected to that group piece. I think it's difficult to break into these places, so these guys have given us a real good start. We're already having those existing relationships with these large landlord clients. Also, we have an incredible piece of tech, which is where the growth has been. So we basically got a full digital twinning thing, virtual reality, which we actually have been selling into our landlord clients at the moment. And the adoption rate has been really high with that. And I think that there's been the growth has been born out of that thing, basically. So we've got developers, gaming developers, coders, blueprint engineers, which I've never heard of before in my life until I came to work here. Blueprint, what I've learned is that the blueprint part is actually a really difficult part of coding, essentially. It's like, everyone can make it look pretty, but for a blueprint software engineer, they need to be able to map out how it ultimately actually works. So even the most mundane of features, you have to have an incredible blueprinter, essentially, to build that out, to then create what we're creating, which is our MITRE engine piece. But yeah, I mean, speed is obviously incredibly important, and growing with our clients is obviously the really important part. But yeah, how have we gone from 4 to 17? I don't really know. It's been through just trying, grinding, like dealing with like new people and new situations. But having the support of the wider business and the WFG board represent, a real serious player in the market anyway. So that obviously has given us those sort of steps in the right direction to get out to the competition we've got, basically.
Yeah, that's been 30 years in the making. I mean, this whole group is probably 180 staff now. And we've recently moved offices.
Yes, excited.
That was about 3 weeks ago. So we've just been settling in. And I suppose, point of the interview, obviously embedding lots of new technology, which helps us work better. And more competitively in the market, I'd like to hope to think.
Right, 100%. So, I mean, you walked in and I showed you an email from a client, a project we jointly worked on together.
Yeah.
And how exciting does it make you feel when you have a project, though you may have gone through hurdles, completed, finished, with good feedback, as you saw from the client? I mean, we're not going to name the client because clearly that's, but how does that make you feel?
Well, of course, it's incredibly heartwarming when someone has a good experience with a contractor. Contracting, by its pure nature, there is always pitfalls and potential issues, but I think the team handled each and every request from the client very, very well. It was a streamlined process. Obviously, great to have partners like yourself who have already an established relationship with said client and work with them globally. So certainly the information that we got from you is paramount to the success of the actual opportunity for us to install the kit. But yeah, no, it was an exciting opportunity. It's always great to get good feedback. We are our whole model's based on repeat.
Right. Yeah.
You know, we want to do a good job on the delivery side so that we get a second bite at the apple at a later date if they were to move or re-gear their leases or take more space. I mean, that's ultimately what we want to do. So we do have a high attrition rate of retaining clients, and long may that continue.
And that's important,
with this particular client in hand. Yeah,
which is fantastic. So tech design. I mean, that in itself is, tech, very complex.
Yeah.
Design itself can be very complex. I mean, how important do you think it is for tech and design to work hand in hand together? And please, Sam, you can go.
Yeah.
Charlie can go.
I mean, I think we actually had a talk last night from a well-renowned architect, and I think there's the point where this balancing act is happening at the moment where you don't want tech to take over the artistry of design. And you don't want design to take over from tech essentially at the minute. So you're at this point in time, which is I liken to, the internet when it first came about and email, etc., to now being in this AI environment where things can be done so much more quickly and accurately by this machine that you can obviously deliver a lot of these things. I think people still want to buy the artistry of design from a human being.
Right.
And I think it's about those two things cohesively working together to make the best of what we've got in front of us at the moment. Tech scares people, right? It's disruptive by its very nature, and I always liken it to, look at Uber versus Black Taxi.
Right.
Back in,
very good example.
10 years ago, there was a riot on our hands with regards to the cabbies in London saying, what the hell's going on here? These guys are charging X amount, and we've all adapted and got used to that particular thing. And I think that's the same thing that's going to happen in the property world, is that although they're late adopters with technology, there's going to be a requirement to do so, because you could rest on your laurels a little bit 10, 15 years ago by not adapting quickly. Whereas now, everyone's going to move so much quicker, and that all your competition are going to learn really quickly how to deliver tech and design it ultimately together. So
I think we are right at the beginning stages of that.
Completely.
And it is exciting, but to Sam's point, it is scary. And it's scary for us as much as it is for our clients, because we don't want to be left behind.
No.
We want to be at the forefront of design changes and using AV and IT and technology to aid us in our pitching process. And quite often it's the case that people probably demand more speed than ever for us to produce an output that we can present. And so the time frames of how long we've got to design often a scheme is decreased over the last few years.
Right.
And their expectation is increased. But this is to the point Sam was making, it's how we work cohesively with technology that's coming through, how we're made aware of it. We do lunch and learn sessions where we, in this case in point, invite someone in externally to come and present to the staff in order to make sure that we are ahead of the game. We're trying to be on point. But yeah, I would say that it's been an interesting couple of years, and I'm constantly looking for the next thing that someone else hasn't done, and it's almost impossible. I mean, when you go back to the raw basics of what we're doing, someone is viewed a space usually in Cat A form, and they want us to envisage and pitch to them after 2 or 3 weeks of design a fully integrated scheme where everyone sits, what everything's going to look like, and so technology obviously plays an important role in that. Generating the images, which Sam owns that actual team, our Viz team. So we have that in-house, which means that those individuals sit with our designers, so we have that human touch. It isn't a case of just prompting and asking for an outcome of a design. You know, we've taken a fully fledged brief from said client, and we're interpreting that using all of our experience to try and bring the best possible design within a budget and a time frame. technology may help in that instance with some of the technology that you guys are using in terms of the Unreal Engine.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing for us, is that we've got this whole procedure where we're creating, gaming engines that deliver digital spaces for clients, and that is whether it's an office fit out or we're trying to lease some landlord space, etc. That's kind of where we've existed. But the platform exists beyond that, is that there is so much opportunity to create various different environments that help us plan better, sell better, and you can look at carbon calculations, investment calculations, etc. Those sorts of things, all within this digital playground. And it's all moving at an incredible speed of knots. And I just don't think people necessarily understand how quickly that's going to catch up. The thing, I'm quite distant from the office fit out part. So traditionally my background has been marketing and design. So, a client would come to us and say, we're building, for argument's sake, Wembley, and this is 10 years ago, create a brand and marketing campaign that sits around it. So the speed of that delivery has changed very quickly. In your market, I stand back and look at how office fit out has changed. And from 15, 20 years ago, the conversations were, how many desks? You know better than me.
Well, it was by hand drawings.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so everything
By
was
hand drawings.
And how
I mean, that was. I know that's probably going back even further than 10, 15 years, but I was still around when I had my first job, and our design director was still doing everything on board and by hand. And it was incredibly slow to watch him, and I kept thinking there must be a better way. I mean, right now we've got some 40 plus designers in Modus, which obviously forms a large aspect of our whole staff, a large proportion. And the speed that they can go at now using, systems like Revit or AutoCAD, obviously is changed the game. The thing is, everyone's probably so used to now CAD. The next thing that we've transitioned to over the last few years is Revit. So everything's built into a model format. It then can be white boxed, white cards, and we can then render onto that. That's where we can implement technology sometimes with the right prompts to produce for a sales perspective, or certainly if someone wants a quick viewpoint of what a space or a room or an area could look like. That's where we're now working, and we even had a meeting about it yesterday, trying to speed this process up, because more often than not, you might get sometimes a couple of days to respond to a client. And if we're not giving them that information, someone else is. So bring it back to a sales perspective, speed wins.
So I think there are a couple of things you said which are very, because I was thinking I have to stick to script, but you're saying so many good things. You're talking about speed, which is great.
Speed's key.
Clearly speed, go back to the 80s, speed then versus speed now. You're also talking about staying informed. You have experts come to your office to brief you because you need to be on top of the game. So how would you say, in addition to speed, partnership with the right types of people to be strong and informed where you're not? Because clearly you're very informed in what you do, but you need to be, for example, up to date with technology, which sometimes you might need an LED expert to come and talk you through. Well, how important is that partnership in your eyes?
Well, I think that's hugely important. I mean, I don't confess to know much about technology. I mean, I know as much as I know, but there are experts in their given fields like yourself. So, if someone had very specific requirements for their meeting room systems, screens, camera systems, and they're a global entity, although we have experience of delivering some aspects of that, it's when it offers the opportunity, I would say, to bring in the professionals and who can actually pitch and design and curate and cost a very tailored solution. I mean, look, on the whole, 80% of the time, I'd say that most people have pretty standard AV systems, for example, in their meeting rooms. And actually, probably it's been overcomplicated historically. What you really want, and what the brief often is the ability to go in there with a laptop and to present. And how do you quickly get the information from your laptop onto a screen without too much fiddling around? That seems to be the biggest ask from my perspective. Seamless technology integration, plug in one cable or click fine, wasn't it?
Something to share.
I honestly, we've gone away from that. Certainly in our own office, it's just a simple
cable,
HDMI or cable into the side of the laptop, and then it presents straight up. There are other options, but I tend to steer away from that because it's Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it is a bit complicated. I think to your original point with regards being more collaborative with external contractors, it's surveying firms, whatever it is that I think that the world has never been more open because it requires to do so, right? Because again, everything moves so fast. A lot of people have wanted to kind of go like this around their clients and go, no, you're not speaking to the LED team, as you said, or they're not speaking to this contractor externally. We'll manage all this, you never get access to this thing. I think for us, what is really important is opening up those doors and creating corporate partnerships to make sure that what we're doing is done to the best possible standard as quickly as possible, and that is working together with that company that knows better than us about what is going on. Essentially, I think that's
speed can sometimes kill that.
I think
this goes back to speed because you don't want to get bogged down in too much detail. It depends at what stage you're at. Have you been appointed, in which case you're into the detailed development design stages, and that's absolutely fine. But in the pitch stages, you can't go into a huge amount of detail. Because you don't have the time or even the information in order to cost that appropriately. So, and I know we've mentioned this before in previous meetings, but not exclusively, but a lot of clients will have their own IT infrastructure and team that service them. And so when it comes to those packages for AVIT, more often than not, we might supply the data cabling and the actual power points to the wall, to the meeting rooms, for example, and the acoustic properties for the room to make sure we don't get any reverberation and everything works from a aesthetic perspective. But the technology side would be done directly with the client, with their advisors, and maybe that's because you've been building a rapport with them over many years and done multiple offices. So we might then inherit, say, your company. As part of the scope of works as an incumbent, and then it's about integrating, our team with yours to make sure we do a seamless installation.
That's really important point there as well, is that we are only as good as the tech in some regards, but you are only as good as your human relationship. And as much as we can sit here and go like tech's going to make things quicker, more dynamic, and it is going to do all of those things, but actually the thing that still makes people go to work in the morning is the social collaboration between individuals, and this is case in point, right? Isn't it? As well as
it's relationship.
That bit won't, as far as I'm concerned, never be replaced by any form of technology.
This could have been robots talking, but we're real people.
And you can. There's something quite nice about making mistakes, see, and on purpose there. And actually, and even speaking too quickly or too slowly, whatever it is that there's something that humans want, which is that interaction part. And I think that's really important to make sure that we get both of those things right. Is collaborating more and making sure that the tech works for every client that we've got in front of us, but ultimately being reasonable with each other and not putting that tech bit first and putting the
100%.
first.
So I completely agree, and I think so. There are a couple of things you said. Again, you're always saying lots, and I have to pick two or three. No, it's good, great stuff. So firstly, you speak about standardized, essentially catalog solution, which we're huge in. That's because we realized, look, years and years ago, meeting rooms were very unique.
Yes.
Now they've become commoditized.
Yes.
Like you say, people want one cable, walk into a room, and the user case for basic meeting rooms are fairly similar. You clearly have complex spaces. So people want something which is more like a catalog solution that you can just pop in a room.
Yeah.
But the second thing you speak about is relationships, okay? Whether that be a customer, contractor, partner, you need to have a level of trust.
Yeah.
If you didn't think, we had a trustworthy enough relationship, you wouldn't be sat here. You think,
true.
Felix like this. So I think those two things we can spend hours and hours talking about. So let's elaborate a bit more on the trust side. How important is that when you're looking for a technology partner, even a member of staff? How important is trust to both?
Well, it's huge. And going back to Sam's point, it's relationship.
Yeah.
Because if we don't know anything about you, we're not going to put you forward for a project.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you've made a concerted effort to showcase some of the finished schemes that you've produced, and you've made an effort to build a rapport up with those individuals within our teams who are actually scoping the project and pricing it, and therefore integrating some of your own work and pricing schedules, then that you're going to find yourself going to have more opportunities for Modus. If no one knows who you are in the business and they have good friendships in other potential contractors, to your point, then they're going to use them over you. So it's relationship.
I completely agree. And I think something that stuck with me for a long time, this happened probably 10 years ago, is a client I still work with today. They basically, the biggest compliment ever was, Sam, you aren't the cheapest or most cost effective, but we can rely on you.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Cost versus relationship.
It's really important, isn't it? Because we all understand that we're working in a society in which, like I say, speed and cost reductions wherever you can find them, etc. as well. But actually having some responsibility and accountability to each other is just like completely undervalued, really. You probably don't spend enough time thinking about these sorts of relationships. And that's the bit where I think you can really grow business as well, is by having those things. And the thing that this client actually said to me was, I know I can ring you at 9 o'clock and your answer. And it doesn't mean, sometimes it's just a moan about something that someone else has done, but it's just nice to have that relationship already, together to be able to kind of manage what the next thing is that you need to get delivered and get done. Also, I think something that's really important is if something goes wrong or if something negative has happened, that you've got a client that will communicate back to you those things immediately, rather than stewing them and saying 3 months later going, especially on your repeat business part of things, is 3 months time saying, you know what, that wasn't up to scratch, we're never going to use them again, and not tell them. What we want is client relationships where they can communicate with us immediately and they can say, right, this is not going well now, please come and fix it.
Right.
And I think that's where the trust is built, is when everything's going swimmingly well, it's easy to people get on and get well. But when stuff becomes challenging and you've got to try and fix that problem, you have got to all work together to get it done, to then build the trust, to then get to the next job base.
So I think you've hit the nail on the head. Trust isn't built when things are going well.
No.
Trust is built when you take ownership. You speak about a customer ringing you at 9 a.m. to moan.
Trust
is built when
9 in the evening.
Sometimes 9 in the morning.
9
Sometimes
in the morning is fine, by the way.
We don't mind 9, but I don't mind 9 in the evening because I care, right?
But it's taking ownership. It's you saying, and I think the wider world of the internet needs to hear it. It's you saying, look, I don't want things to go wrong.
Yeah.
But if things go wrong, maybe due to delivery or whatever, which is out of your control, you're still going to take ownership of that relationship and still be there as much as you can. Of course.
Well, actually, that's an interesting point when you say taking ownership, but because contractually we're the ones that the client is contracting with, and then we subcontract to obviously our supply chain. The buck stops with us. So we also, as much as the client needs that one single point of contact to escalate matters when they go wrong, we have to have that similar relationship with our supply chain.
Of course, yeah.
And also the supply chain often is, I suppose they're the unsung heroes because they get all the work done, but they aren't actually client facing. They're not interacting with the client. But when you get items like AVIT technology integrated into someone's workspace, that's very personal to them as a potential package. And so introducing a potential member of the supply chain from an AV company, you have to be on point as much as we are when we're meeting a client. You have to be representative of us as a brand.
Yeah.
So the relationship has to be there before I can trust to put you in front of the client.
Yeah.
Because if I don't trust you and don't know you, I don't know how you're going to present in front of a client. If to Sam's point, bring everyone in and have a conversation and get early engagement with your supply chain in the room. Great, but that's fallen in a terrible way over before, because you bring someone in who can't articulately present what they're trying to sell. And so if you have someone who is actually representative of our brand and has a good track record, then obviously it can be a helpful sales tool for us.
So partnership is not just finding the right partner that does a good job. You're looking for a partner that represents your brand.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is a very 21st century way of thinking. Years and years ago, it was just you get the job done, but it's now actually you're an extension of us.
Well, if you let the side down, like I said, the buck stops with us. So I have to rely on you doing a good job. And making sure that you aren't slowing our program down, because there obviously are specific dates when maybe towards the end of a project we're working together on site. You might be bringing in your own contractors for that event. So we have to be very careful of who we're trusting that work to. If it's very light touch work, then obviously it's lower risk, and the chances are we're probably working with existing contractors. If it's more specialist, then you want to go to someone who can tailor it and be more specialist.
But I do think that those key partnerships and being transparent is obviously part one, which is really important. But to a similar thing is that even these small partnerships and the stuff where you've got things that you don't seem to have to necessarily worry about at the forefront of your mind, is that they're still important to make sure that everything goes to plan.
Right.
And referrals are hard because even in your own personal life, if you refer a builder to someone, to your friend, and then they miss the building job up,
that's on you.
That's on you, and you never hear the end of it. So your friend, won't name names, but a friend of mine just referred a painter and decorator, and it ended up costing them more than they thought it was going to, and did a terrible job.
Right.
And you'll get it in the back of the neck, and that's in your personal life. Let alone when it's on multi-million-pound deals. You've got to be really considered about who you pick in these moments as well. And I think WFG and Modus specifically are very good at both working really closely with those partnerships, but looking after each other. And back to that communication piece is picking up the phone and saying, right, let's get this fixed. I mean, Dean's non-stop on, he's technical director of Modus. He is non-stop on the phone to someone talking about something that needs to be fixed immediately. And he's got that open pathway. It's not like a closed book sort of situation.
That's right. And as we grow as a firm, we're obviously extending the supply chain. And bringing on more, because we've got more work to produce. And that relationship piece is where it all starts. I can't tell our pre-con team where they're getting their quotes from. They'll have those relationships, those people have been onboarded. So it is a process. You've got to get in early. You've got to, obviously get to like and know the individuals within the WFG group. Those are the ones that are putting you forward for a prospective package. And then that relationship internally where it's back and forth on the actual specifics, specification, is where you're building up that rapport, whether you're having a cup of coffee with them in the morning, coming into the office.
But I think this is obviously what we were talking about earlier, is that part one is technology, part two is those relationships. And I think what we're working out as we go is that you can't replace the human relationship.
100%.
You can improve the technology, you can make things better, faster, etc. But that is where there's that pivotal moment still now, whereas that's never going to change over time. So I think that's the bit that we're
holding on to that for dear life.
You've said something really key there. I mean, 80s or 90s. Okay, those who are alive then listening.
80s and 90s. I hope they're still alive.
I hope they are. There you go.
What do you mean? I was born in the 80s.
Oh, so was I.
Yeah.
I was actually just 80s.
Yeah,
so
just
you?
80s.
No, you weren't.
87.
Okay.
Good year.
There you go. I'm not going to disclose my age publicly, but
You're
I feel
saying
like
those
I'm older
who
than
were
you both.
working in the 80s, not
working
who
in
were
the
born
80s is what I meant. Thank you. Thanks for the correction. I mean, they had relationships. And if we move on to your building, you elaborated on your building for a little bit, spaces you had. So
Yes, in the pitch area, basically, right?
Yeah, the pitch area, this has been carefully curated so that when we do bring in prospective clients, that it's a sort of meeting room suite with external parts outside of the meeting room, which you can showcase samples and have effective workshops. And then for actual presentation purposes, we've integrated, I'd say, some of the latest technology. I mean, I'd like to hope it was at the forefront, but we've got cameras, projector systems that will project onto the actual desk itself, or the main boardroom table, so you can review plans. It's gimmicky. I've yet to get it working properly.
That's not the AV.
You need us to come and look
That's
at
not
it.
that's not the AV, but it's all been installed. We just got to learn how to use it.
And I think for us as well, is that this is just phase one essentially, right? So there is actually which is basically a cupboard at the moment, but a sizable cupboard, which will be our MITRE VR room essentially. So we're going to try and work with green screen technology. We're going to install paneling so you can present around the world in front of a camera like this, and then be able to do seminars, etc. Webinars.
Yeah, because we've seen, I've been to events where they've showcased that kind of technology, and it's always a big ask because more often than not, it's a lovely excuse we've got at the moment because we just had a new office, so you can invite clients in, and they want to come to see a newly fitted, furnished office. But more often than not, you're getting a client actually say, come to our office to present, because that's where the senior management team sit, and they don't fancy trucking over the bridge and going into South Bank. But the more we can create an opportunity that's exciting for them to come in, and a reason behind that, and maybe using technology in 21-inch screens, 21 by 9-inch screens, whatever it is. What is that? 21
by 9, yeah. Inch.
By
But
what-
it's 100. Well, it's 180 something inch. It's
pretty large screen.
Pretty big screen.
the
Lovely
21
for the football.
Yes. So we've got the same screen.
Exact same size in pitch.
So that's great for we're going to sort of spill into the VC world now. So Microsoft have intel on what's best for more immersive spaces, more immersive meetings. So Microsoft Front Row is sort of a big thing at the moment, and this aspect ratio gives you the best experience with Front Row. But it's got its user case. But back to what you said, which I thought to address, you spoke about having great tech, but sometimes streamlining great tech is easy. So if you walked into my house and you saw a TV, for example, that was very complicated to operate, you know, it might be the best looking thing in the world, but you'd think, what in the world is this? But if you had a remote control and you saw the buttons clearly, that would simplify the system. So how important is it to more for client-facing spaces to simplify AV, or even if it's a complex system, to give it a nice, controlled kiosk? Simplify it. How important is that?
I think that is number one.
It's number one.
It sounds silly, but to Charlie's point earlier, as well as to momentum, speed, etc., is that these people are very important. They've got not a huge amount of time. When you sit in the room and you're preparing someone for a presentation, you lose all momentum when the tech doesn't work. And it sounds like a simple little thing to say, but once someone starts fidgeting around with the cable, not being able to work the system, there's sound playing in the background that shouldn't be playing, the coffee machine's going off in the background, is that, you know, our minds can only focus for a short period of time these days, and actually you've got one shot at this thing. That thing needs to be impeccably pulled together, otherwise you're just going to lose the audience.
It's all well and good in your own office because you've worked that system, you've tested it before a client comes in, it's presenting already. The nervousness that you have when you go into someone else's office and it might not be the latest and greatest, and they're asking you to integrate your own laptop with their system, and they might have security firewalls that you can't get past. You can't, honestly, and that can kill a meeting. I've been in many meetings like that where if it isn't seamless, it certainly knocks you off your perch a little bit and disrupts the whole meeting.
So that
people hold it against you even though it's their technology.
So that's back to your point initially, where you have catalog solutions which are, you know, up to date where possible, but are, you know, essentially defined to a space and they work.
Exactly.
I've really enjoyed that conversation, both. I mean, it was a little bit off script, but
So we're done.
We don't have to finish now. Final words. Tell me your final words.
That was quick, wasn't it? We got about another 45 minutes.
I'd say I built in a whole lunch for this.
Lunch is yet to come, so, you know, but this has been very insightful for sure in terms of, you know, seeing your passion for partnership, of course, seeing how you're very fast paced, but you're moving with time. I think you've got
it's trying to stay ahead of one step ahead of the game or your competition. Not overextend yourself with technology, maybe where you're having to invest too much proportionally for what we do. But that still, it's an exciting experience for someone to come into our office as a client and let us showcase what we do in its best possible light. And that is using good technology, I guess, a good integration of that. So yeah, I mean, and as a final point, you know, working with a decent supply chain, obviously you are representative of us in, you know, the scenario you gave earlier on with our client. If you do a good job, it's reflected well on us and vice versa. But, you know, it starts with one job, and I'd like to hope that, you know, you can be introduced to the rest of our colleagues and hopefully win some more work.
Grow together, which I think that's the point of partnership, isn't it? We're growing together. Final word, sir?
I think that I've been in the business for 9 months here as well. I think that this is top down rather than down up with regards to where we want to go with technology moving forward, is that the CEO of the business, I'm not just saying this because we're on a podcast, but he's very forward thinking. I might be saying a little bit, but he's incredibly forward thinking. Yeah, exactly. If we could just caption just this bit, that's all right. Make this bit go viral.
This will be a snippet.
Yeah, but I
soundbite.
I do think that it is from the top down, is that they see that there's movement in the market into this more technologically advanced space, and he is a big advocate for that because he sees how quickly this thing is coming down the road, and having people within the business that are entrepreneurial enough to want to adopt it as important as selling it into the client.
Sam, I think we've got an appetite for it. I just don't know quite often what it is.
But I think that's the same for lots of people.
I know, because we get asked the question a lot. What genuinely what does a good office look like? And what's the future office look like? And when we're designing space, of course, aesthetics change quite a bit. Some of the mechanical systems, obviously, we have a lot of exposed systems now. You know, that was I suppose, a far cry away from a typical mineral fibre suspended ceiling. So aesthetically, things have changed, but it's still a place where we come together, collaborate. And we're all on mobile phones, iPads, laptops. And we want seamless technology. You want to control the lighting in a room. You want to control the temperature in a room. You want to be able to easily present in a room. You want to easily have a decent camera system so that if you're on a Teams call or a Zoom call, globally, it's the best quality it can be, because again, first impressions count.
Yeah.
If you're all blurred out and the sound's all tinny, I have to tell you, because I'm on a lot of those calls, and it's usually their side, not mine, because I would opt to go for a laptop or an iPad, and you just know your system's safe. You know the quality of the sound is good. It's their side in a crappy room. Can I say crappy?
Of course you can. You already did.
But you're in maybe an older fit out, and you're talking to the client for their new office, and you can hardly hear what they say because the sound is bouncing around, the quality of the microphone's terrible. And so going back to that earlier point, obsolete kit. When do you make a decision to say, right, let's upgrade? And it's usually when you move.
Yeah.
So we're at the forefront of people's technological upgrade, because at that juncture they're going, this is the time to do it. If we're going to invest, it's now.
And this is a point, it doesn't be for this or not, we're wrapping up, but it's, I think for me, is in a world in which you can work from anywhere now, because of what tech has enabled, is that you've got to give people an incredibly good reason to want to come to the office. And the foundations of that is that everything works and works seamlessly. Because I can be a member of staff at home saying, you know what, the tech's rubbish, I can do it, I've got a better rig and setup at home, especially from my visualization team. They've got as good as hardware as they've got within the office space. So you've got to make sure that it's seamless. Once they're there, you've got to play to that audience and make sure you've got it bang on for them as well. So
that's 110%. And I must say, from the first time I met you, Charlie, when you were gone, I spoke about your passion. So I think that's carried on in Play's got the same passion, same kind.
That's why I brought him with me.
Yeah.
We're good.
with the passion.
Yeah. But no, I mean, you have to be passionate about what you do. You know, we all specialise in certain areas and different sectors, but I love what I do, and I know Sam loves what he's doing. We're a growing company, and we've got a long way to go. The competition's stiff, but the more conversations we could be having about how to be better, what latest technology. And actually, to that point, I'll flip it back. We do rely on people like you saying, let me show you what good looks like. Bring your client into the space that we've designed for the purposes of showing what the art of the possible is. And I need you to be on the forefront of technology, because then it gives us an opportunity to come in and say,
you could do this.
Yeah, you've got to, we could easily do this for you.
100%, and that's, I couldn't agree more. It's been an absolute pleasure, both. We could talk forever and ever and ever, but then the marketing team will shoot me and say, hey,
it's got to be bite-sized, isn't it?
110%. So appreciate you joining us for this episode of our AVEX podcast, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.